Guys, this smells incredible. Please try this. Let me know what you think. I would love to see what your version of matoke with meatballs is. Allow me to garnish this a little bit with some fresh herbs before I indulge. Lovely. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to take you through this journey with me. This is where we make ordinary Kenyan meals into extraordinary dishes. Today we'll be making a really fun recipe of matoke and lamb meatballs. And for that we'll need 6 peeled bananas, 2 medium-sized onions, 4 medium-sized tomatoes, 1 red pepper, 2.5 teaspoons of tomato paste, a teaspoon of turmeric, 2 teaspoons of paprika, smoked preferably, a teaspoon of sugar, 4 cloves of garlic, and 1 small ginger, finely sliced. And then for our meatballs, we'll need about 250 grams of meatballs, some fresh parsley, 1 bunch should be enough, 1 large red onion, salt and pepper to taste. Karibu. We'll start by making our lamb meatballs, and we'll do that by keeping it very simple. I'm only going to add some chopped onions and fresh parsley to my meatballs, and then I'll sear these a bit just so that they get a good beautiful color outside. We'll make our meatballs, let them set in the fridge for a few minutes. We'll make nice medium-sized meatballs that take a very short time to cook. And as our meatballs set, we'll cook our matoke, our nice beautiful gravy. This is nice comfort food. Next up, we'll add some fresh parsley. We'll only use the leaves, and then we'll keep the stalks for a different use. Matoke is an amazing dish. It's extremely versatile, full of flavor and packed with minerals. I mean, bananas are an incredible fruit. When they're raw, you eat them as a vegetable, and when they're ripe, they are an amazing fruit that can be converted into a dessert, into bread, into a drink. I mean, who doesn't like a good banana smoothie? Our fresh herbs here will add flavor, color, richness to our meatballs. And again, I just want to keep my meatballs very simple, because sometimes the fewer ingredients you put into food, the better it is. This is the fun part. We'll season this first with a good pinch of salt, some freshly ground black pepper. Give this a good mix. The reason why I'm not adding any flour or eggs as a binding agent is that I want to keep my meatballs gluten-free. And lamb has a fair amount of fat. And because of this is already a natural binding agent. So when you're buying your minced lamb, just try and get meat that is not extremely lean. So just a little bit of fat so that it binds your meatballs together. And then also, after giving it a good mix, always keep it in the fridge for at least 15 minutes to rest. So we'll make our meatballs and then have it set for a few minutes in the fridge. Give it a good squeeze first. Our meatballs are ready. All right. As our meatballs sit in the fridge for a bit, roast our tomatoes a little bit. So you put an incision inside or at the top part of the tomato. And I'm doing this because as the tomato roasts, it's going to peel away from the skin. Another reason why I roast my tomatoes is just to give it better flavor. And I'll add a red pepper there. So what you do is season this with salt and black pepper, a little bit of oil. I'm going to roast my tomatoes and red pepper for about 10 to 15 minutes at 180 degrees. I had preheated my oven, so before you do that, make sure you preheat your oven a little bit, at least 3 or 4 minutes well in advance, so that once you put your tomatoes and pepper in, it begins cooking immediately. We have 2 medium-sized onions that we are going to peel and chop real quick so that we can start cooking our sauce for the matoke. Guys, and I tell you to always try and invest in good knives, good sharp knives. That way you have 0 to none accidents. It's actually fun cooking when you have nice sharp knives. Again, it's important to have your mise en place or your preparation ready so that once you start cooking, you continue the process without forgetting or leaving out anything behind. Ready. Here we have our beautifully roasted tomatoes. Careful, this is hot. Let this cool down for a bit. You can place it in a container or a bowl and you cover it up. The steam will loosen the skin completely, and then it becomes much easier to peel. This is hot, so be careful. You can always give it time until it cools down completely. So what I'll do is I'll chop all of these together. I'm removing the seeds from my red pepper because they would make my stew bitter, and we don't want that. And the skin, because it served its purpose. The tomatoes have now cooled a little bit, so it's easier to handle. And you can either just run this in a blender or give it a quick chop like what we'll do right now. Normally I have those the seeds from the tomato, the center of the tomato. When I make things like kachumbari, I would use the seeds and roast it together with this when I'm making any stew. So this is when it comes in handy. You can make quite a bit of these tomatoes and pepper mix and freeze to shorten your process. Before we give that a chop, I'll heat my pan. So you see, it's even easier just to chop this because it's all cooked, it's full of flavor, it's well seasoned. Apart from your stews, you can chop it up as it is and eat it with bread. So I have my preheated wok here. I'm using some sunflower oil. Give it a good swirl. Then we'll saute our onions for a few minutes, 2 minutes, until they're nice and translucent, almost golden brown. This is a very easy dish for a nice family lunch or dinner. It's a hearty dish, comfort food, especially for the cold season. Then in goes our garlic, which I finely minced. Mincing is basically finely chopping. So once you pound it, you just give it a good chop. You can also pound it in a pestle and mortar. By the way, what do you call that pestle and mortar in your mother tongue? This smells really good. Next up, we have our ginger. I like slicing my ginger. I'll show you how to slice ginger real quick. So after peeling, you just make good slices out of it, like that, as thin as possible. Again, a good sharp knife goes a long way in preventing you from cutting yourself because you're not using so much force. And that gives you beautiful juliennes of ginger. I like the bite of ginger. These are packed with lots of nutrients and flavor. And that's how we have our finely sliced ginger. This goes in, and at this stage we lower our heat because we don't want the ginger or the garlic to burn. Our onions are nice and translucent. They have a beautiful color, and the aroma from the onions and the garlic and the ginger is all coming together and giving off a really wonderful aroma. So I can imagine how this tastes. Once your ginger softens, which is a clear indication that your ginger has started to cook, we'll add our spices. In this case, a teaspoon of turmeric. You let this cook down. Let this cook for at least 2 minutes on low heat so that your turmeric doesn't burn. Then I'll add my Spanish paprika. So paprika gives your food a nice earthy aroma and also a good smoky taste to it, especially if it's smoked paprika. If you don't have smoked paprika, you can always just throw it in the oven on low heat, about 120, 140 degrees, and lightly toast your spice. So this has been sauteing for about 2 minutes, and in goes our tomato paste. And all we want to do is cook down the tomato paste for a good minute to 2 minutes. Tomato paste adds texture and body to your sauce, so you will have a really rich sauce in the end. You cook this on low heat for about 2 minutes. I like cooking my stews sometimes, or curries like Matoke, in a nice wide-based wok. That way everything cooks evenly and there is nothing that sits on top of the other thing. So like our Matoke will all fit on this perfectly without really having to turn and break. All right, this smells incredible. Then in goes our tomato and pepper. I'll crank the heat back up a bit. And this will now slowly stew. I'll give this a good season of salt and pepper. Again, it's very important to season your food throughout the entire cooking process. Because our tomatoes had already roasted in the oven and we've given them a nice good chop, we'll add our matoke. Make sure that they're all evenly spaced out. Another way you can prepare matoke is you can boil it with its peel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know whether you've tried it. I'd love to see how yours turned out. And we'll just let this simmer slowly, and our meatballs should be ready now. Look at that. Our nice meatballs are ready. We'll give this a light sprinkle of salt and pepper, then a little bit of oil. So a little bit of oil as well on the pan. You have to hear that sizzling sound. Our matoke is looking good. We'll just taste a little bit of it. Very nice. So a bit of salt, bit of black pepper, and a pinch of sugar. This is where sugar goes in. Now, the reason why I'm putting a pinch of sugar is because we have quite a bit of tomato paste in there. We have tomatoes, we have a bit of red pepper, and this is normally tangy. So to get rid of that tangy taste, we add a pinch of sugar, which neutralizes and balances out the acidity from the tomatoes. Our meatballs look amazing. They smell incredible. They've bound together quite well. Sometimes they disintegrate, but that's when you did not give it a good squeeze, and you need to also give it some time in the fridge so that all the ingredients come together and the meat rests and binds together. That way you don't need any flour, you don't need any eggs, and also for those who are allergic to eggs or intolerant to gluten, then this way is a really easy way to do and replicate. So I'll put my meatballs on the side, give my matoke 2 more minutes because they're still not as soft as I want them to be. And then I'll add my meatballs to my matoke in the last maybe 10 or so minutes before we serve. Yebo. This is very nice. A bit of chili, and then we'll serve this with a nice baguette that has peanut butter on. Yeah. My matoke has about 10 minutes to go. What I'll do now is I'll throw in my juicy meatballs. This looks incredible. What are your unusual food combinations? Mine is matoke with peanut butter toast. I'd love to hear yours. As our beautiful Matoke cooks and infuses with the lamb meatballs. So I'll let this cook for another 10 minutes before we can serve it. In the meantime, fresh coriander. Guys, this smells incredible. Please try this. Let me know what you think. I would love to see what your version of matoke with meatballs is. Allow me to garnish this a little bit with some fresh herbs before I indulge. Lovely. This looks incredible and I can't wait to try. The matoke is beautifully cooked. Take a piece, some meatballs. Make sure to subscribe. Bring a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend, and see you next time.